How's your Topo Chico over there?
Unopened.
Boom. Guess what I have?
The bottle opener.
I got the bottle opener that I forgot in my car.
There we go. That's a nice little pop in my ear.
Yeah, if you're listening to this, Bo still does not have a bottle opener. So you know, if one of our listeners could provide him one.
Just cracking open a cold one.
Yeah. Got to give a shout out to Topo Chico, the unofficial sponsor of Once Upon a Tome. You know, hopefully at one point there will be an official sponsor.
That was the grossest thing I've ever done.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. I'm sure our audience of 5 will forgive you.
I mean, I don't know, man. We got some downloads.
We're up to like 60 downloads.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
I guess we're big in Colorado.
Colorado.
Thank you, Coloradans.
Yeah. Colorado, Texas. We got like 6 in Florida. We got a few in California. Got some in New York.
We got one in Germany. I know that.
Yep. We got a few in Missouri.
Those are our friends.
Yes.
Yeah.
You know what's actually really funny? So on the podcast server I use, it says we have like 60 total downloads. But when I add up like the numbers like per state and country, it like equals like 56.
Those 4.
Those 4.
We didn't leave that much of an impression. That's okay though.
Yeah.
Oh, but we got some updates though.
We do.
We have an email account.
We do, yeah.
So if you're one of the 60, specifically one of the 56 that downloaded,
no, we have 60 downloads, but only 56 are showing.
Oh.
Yeah.
I'm missing. Dang it. Anyway.
Yeah.
If you feel like emailing us, where can they hit us up at?
Yeah, it is onceUponAtome@gmail.com.
Such a creative.
Email. I mean, luckily it wasn't taken. You know, when we went out on YouTube, you know, there's another Once Upon a Tome account. But I was able to establish the same one. So hopefully we will overtake that account. But yeah, if you're listening and want to write us, recommend things to talk about, just want to shoot us an email, tell us how badly we're doing or how good we are, you know.
Please be good. I got a very weakened mental state. I don't need any negative criticism, please. I went 4 years of film school, just destroyed me. Yeah. First off, preface it with, who do you like as an author? What is your favorite book? And then ask me a question.
Yeah. Or if you're not a reader, you just stumbled upon this podcast, you can just say hi or send us a funny meme. You know?
Yeah.
Preferably give us something to work with.
Give me a dad joke.
Yes.
I think I really need that.
Yeah.
Also, I'm sorry if the audio quality is pretty bad. I haven't done any of this in years.
Yeah. Yeah, we had a different setup last time, kind of more professional setup. And we won't give you the details, but we're having to kind of do this on the fly. But in the spirit of getting another one out there.
And in the spirit of DIY independent creator.
Exactly. Yeah. So, you know, in a few years when we're fully sponsored and we're, you know, even doing like live shows, you know, multi-streams, you know, we can look back on the days when it was just us and a couple microphones and
theoretically speaking, yeah. Ideally, that's what we look
Ideally.
At. So, give them some more updates.
Yeah, so you want to talk about the Gaddis conference?
Of course I want to talk about the Gaddis. You can talk about the Gaddis conference.
So last weekend, Bo and I went to the William Gaddis Centenary Conference at WashU, right in our backyard.
Totally found it by accident on his wiki page. Had no idea that WashU held his archives. And then, like on the same webpage, they were promoting this conference they were doing. So I was like, oh, well. Emailed Brett in his room, and I was like, dude, we're doing this. I already signed us up. Didn't have much of an option.
Yeah.
We could only attend one day, though. And unfortunately, it was the last day. So it was kind of wrapping up.
We literally caught the last session.
Yeah. Because we couldn't go to the morning session, which kind of sucked. But,
yeah, what were your takeaways from the last session, the only session for us?
I really miss academia. really like being in that setting again. I also realized that I kind of stuck out like a sore thumb. You know, they had some really scholarly looking people, and bohemian types. Just you could tell they were probably like wanderers and all that. And I show up in a Tampa Bay Buccaneers T-shirt and a red flannel and Vans, and I was like, yeah, I that's fine.
Yeah,
I'm fine with
it's
that.
It's bohemian.
It's something.
My
fashion sense is like a 35-year-old dad.
Yeah.
Which is fine.
I mean, you'll be there at some point, hopefully.
Hopefully.
Yeah.
Hopefully we're still doing this in 8 years. Well, that would be something.
Yeah. Hopefully. For me, 2 years, but yeah.
Oh,
but when you're 35, I'll be.
Yeah, I got sad for like a quick second.
Wait, I'm 6 years older than you.
Yeah.
So I'll be 41. All right.
Oh, okay.
Over half my life will be over.
Oh, don't do this to me now, man.
No. Yeah. Hey, it's all good. So yeah.
If anybody wants to email Brett at onceuponatome@gmail.com, he's kind of a lonely person.
Yeah, Bo's really my only friend. All I do all day is we just text each other back and forth, talk about books, music, film.
And then we talk about a baseball game that we're both watching.
Yes. In real time.
In real time. Did you just see that? Yes, I did.
But you know what, Bo? You know what just occurred to me?
Huh.
Let's do a little time out here. In case this is the first episode people are listening to us, we haven't introduced ourselves.
Oh, shoot.
Yeah. That's kind of... So if you're just listening, we're podcast noobs. This is our second episode. It's called Once Upon a Tome. I'm Brett Hendricks.
I'm Bo Hill.
And time in. So we'll continue. Yeah. So
Steinberg is going to be so upset. She specifically said we needed structure.
Yes.
And we just did that. Anyway. Note taken. Steinberg.
You know what do we say when we first had the idea of starting a podcast?
It's kind of like a conversation.
It's a conversation.
That we have, like every time we hang out.
Yeah.
I think it's like creatively speaking, the dejectors might say it's just lazy, and I would concede to the point.
Yeah.
But Miles Davis, not comparing myself to the genius of him, but he pretty much made Kind of Blue, saying, do whatever you want in this space. As long as you get to these 4 notes together, we'll be fine. And it's like top 10 greatest albums of all time. It's not my favorite of his, but it's in the same vein, kind of improving around here. So anyway, back to the Gaddis.
Before we get to that, here's the thing too. It's like, this is not an informational podcast. It's just 2 guys talking literature.
2 nerds talking about literature.
So it's like, the format is kind of, at this point, we're just getting going. Big picture is kind of important, but I think we're on the right track.
Yeah, I think we are.
Yeah, but yeah, back to Gaddis. So yeah, we the session we saw, the last session, there was a round table. A couple guys gave presentations, and
who were they?
So they were Jacob Springer. He is a high school teacher up at a prep school up in the Seattle area.
Yeah.
And we'll talk about him in a second because we have a backstory on him. The second guy was Jeff Jackson? That was his name?
Mm-hmm.
And then who was the moderator? Do you remember his name?
Oh.
Anyways. He was some professor from some school in the Northeast. I think
Ron Shavers.
Ron Shavers.
Jeff Jackson, Ron Shavers, Jacob Singer. Sorry, yeah. Ron. That's very rude.
Yeah.
They're all.
And I think what stuck out to me just about, I would say, when you say probably half the people at that session were like authors themselves.
Oh, which also made me realize.
It blew our mind.
How out of my element. I felt like Donnie from The Big Lebowski.
Yeah.
You're out of your element.
We were just sitting there, and there'd be guys stand up with books, walk over to these guys and have them sign them.
Yeah, some other this one wonderful person walked over to Jeff Hauer.
Howard Shower, something like that. Yeah.
They all had name tags. So did we. Yeah, just straight up during this, Q&A, went up to get his book signed. I was like, this is amazing. I wish I had the balls.
And it wasn't some just like piddly book too. It was a significant.
It was a mid-sized, thick boy.
Yeah.
I was.
Well, and then the guy who headed the conference, Stephen Moore, is apparently just like a super renowned scholar on Gaddis.
Yeah, and the leading Gaddis scholar.
Yeah, and he has his own Wikipedia page, and I think I can attest, I can speak for you, when he said, "Oh yeah, back when I talked to Gaddis, or something like that," we were like, "You knew Gaddis?"
Yeah, there was a couple moments where we were like, "Oh,
yeah.
Hey, did you hear who they just name dropped?"
Yeah,
kind of like a bunch of dorks.
And then didn't Jackson say one of his books was reviewed by DeLillo or something?
Yeah.
Yeah.
DeLillo had said something about his book. And then Stephen, or Mr. Moore, casually just dropped that he was one of the first people to talk about Infinite Jest.
Yeah.
And I was like, what? What? Yeah. I wish I was that cool. Like, legitimately, when he said that, I was like, oh my God. Like, how astounding that, like, no one, it's just the fact that you knew something as big as Infinite Jest was going to drop.
Yeah.
And you were, like, trying to critique it or edit it down or something. Like, that's just astounding to me.
Yeah, I think, like, Jacob and Jeff both mentioned Infinite Jest and David Foster Wallace.
Yeah, which was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Another thing that we both kind of joked about later was that when they were talking about like how to do like set up the conference, for like JR or 5 years down the road, or we should do a David Foster Wallace one, and they were talking about like, oh, we have access to these archives, we can talk to, Gaddis's relative or what have you, and Steven's like, the manuscripts are in pretty good condition. You can just type them in. Does anybody want to do that? And I was like, how casual.
Oh, I know.
that idea was just
like,
thrown about. I was
like,
does anyone want to? A part of me just wanted to be a ballsy dude and just be like, a ballsy dingling and be like, I do. I'll do it. I'll do it on Google
that's
Word.
What, like, struck out to me. It's like
Google Doc.
I mean, really thinking about it, it's like, Gaddis is critically acclaimed, but he's almost like a niche author. And so you have these, like, I would say it was an international conference because there was a guy there from Iran, right? The guy sitting in front of us.
He was teaching in Iran.
Yeah.
And then another guy was teaching in Canada somewhere.
Yeah. And it's like the people who read him are so far and few between that I do feel like it is. To me, it was a surprise that like it is so easy to just publish things about him.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it was just kind of cool to see just devoted literature nerds.
Yeah.
I mean, some of them were just speakers at the conference most of them were teachers, which I thought was amazing. And I'm glad that they all have the same issues that I'm sure most of our peers and us have.
Like for me, I think the biggest takeaway, or not biggest takeaway, but was they were struggling, like, how do we teach a difficult novel to students without them just immediately writing it off because they've heard so much about, like, how hard it is to read,
Yeah, I mean, how do I get myself to be motivated enough to read Ulysses?
Yeah.
Just like that one guy at the conference where he was, like, arduously talking about his battle with Ulysses, and the only reason he took it was because he took a class about Ulysses.
But then after he took it, he appreciated it a lot more.
I know. But it's just every single time I read that paragraph, I'm like, God dang it. Not yet.
Yeah.
That's a summer read. So a lot of great moments. The round table per se, they were going through how to read Gaddis, in this, postmodern lens of sorts. This new way of critique and analysis in pop culture, I guess. You know, and they talked a lot. I'm going to paraphrase the crap out of this. Yeah. But essentially talking about like reading in a reactionary sense and reading in order like in an engaging way. Yeah. And how like if you're reading on the defensive at all moments, you are limiting yourself.
Yeah, because you're not going to get as much out of it.
As a reader. Yeah. And I'm going to segue a little bit. I'm going to tie this into Mr. Gaddis here.
Yeah, because we're gonna give an update on where we are in Gaddis, right?
Yeah, we're not very far. According to Goodreads, we're about 18% in.
Well, I mean,
page
I
143.
Just done like a calculator to find that percentage.
Well, Goodreads does it for me, and I'm already one book ahead of my reading goal this year.
Okay.
Page 143. People react. That's all they do now. React. They've reacted until it's the only thing they can do. And it's finally there's no room for anyone to do anything but react. And I was like, yeah, well, this was written, like 1959?
I think 55. 55. It was published.
Dang it, I keep saying 59.
Probably written before that.
He would have been astounded with how people, participate in their culture and in their, society is just completely reactionary. Yeah. And I mean, totally not, towards Gaddis or, it has no, this really has nothing to do with it, but, like last night, I know you probably aren't familiar with it, but Takeoff from Migos is a rap trio.
Yeah, I heard he died. I don't
he was shot and killed. And one of the first things I saw was a reactionary post, like mid-scene, like people are just pulling on their phones, and he's like, dying, taking his last breaths, and there's someone around the corner with their phone out. The cognitive dissonance, just it's unsettling to me. I can't even articulate it well enough. But I think back about that quote in the book, and I was like, oh, it takes people a good 10 seconds to actually react to what they should, and then when they react, it's usually not violent, but pretty aggressive, I think. Yeah. But I'm also very I'm at fault with that. Oh well.
I think we all are to some extent.
Yeah, I mean, people are just convicted in their beliefs, and I think that's a wonderful thing.
It can be.
Yeah, can be. I mean, if you're an extremist of any sorts, I mean, I have caution with that. But, but I'm also a person who's like, well, people can get along better than, you believe. But.
Case point, you and I.
Oh, yeah. Very much so. What is it, 6 years you're older than me?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. We grew up in 2 different time frames, so.
Yeah, kind of.
Yeah. I don't know. I was in college at the right moment in history. Or the wrong moment, if you think about it. Depending on how you think about it. I think it was a pretty tumultuous time, and it was pretty crazy in 2016. And that was like the meat of my college story. Yeah. I don't know how I got there. Dang it. Let's talk about Gaddis.
Yeah, let's get our listeners caught up on where we're at in Gaddis.
Yeah, we're on page 1. I'm on page 173.
Oh, ooh.
I read a little bit today because I didn't have anybody in my room today, and I was like, I'm gonna read 3 books.
Well, I'm on 167. So I think to sum up, how would you sum up what has happened thus far in I guess up from the last time we recorded till now?
Well, it has a beautiful intro. Yeah. Wonderfully written. Kind of gave me an existential crisis when I first read it. Had to talk about that with someone later. I was like, oh my God, I'm spinning. Like page 12 alone has a wonderful little excerpt that I highlighted.
Yep.
You know, that galaxy of suns so far away that our own would rise and set unseen at such a distance, a constellation whose setting has inaugurated celebrations for those lying in graves from Aztec America to Japan, encouraging the Druids to their most solemn mystery of the reconstruction of the world, bringing to Persia the month of Mordad and the angel of death. It's like, phew, that's some meat right there.
Why don't we just give the bare bones plot what we know so far? Like, just bare bones.
Wyatt's mom died on her voyage to Spain.
Yeah, because she was sick, and then there's a fake doctor. The doctor was drunk, right? Or was he a fake doctor?
He was fake and drunk.
Fake and drunk, yeah.
He
so he attempted to operate on her and just killed her, right?
Yeah. So Wyatt's dad buries her in Spain, which is also a wonderfully written part.
Yeah.
You know, and it's a very, I guess they're Calvinists, right?
Yeah, because his dad was a Calvinist preacher, right?
Yeah, so when he goes back home, he's just like instantly ridiculed.
Yeah.
But
it's funny because his dad's not actually like a Calvinist.
No, not at all. Like he questions his faith. It's almost like a literary Ingmar Bergman character.
Yeah.
You know, always questioning the fundamentalist view of his world.
And Wyatt's aunt, right? Aunt May is a kind of fundamentalist Calvinist, and she
abusively so.
Yeah, abusively so. And so she tells him to do all this stuff, and he runs it by his dad, and his dad kind of could care less.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, essentially, like he gets a pet monkey, rather hang out with that until he has to kill it because of some weird sacrificial rite he believes in order to help Wyatt, who's sick. Again, it's like I have to read other contexts into how how you understand what the heck's going on. But anyway, it just jumps in time, and Wyatt goes to be a priest, or a clergyman of some sort, right? And then he tells his dad, like, "Nah, I don't want to do that. I want to be an artist." And he's been painting art his whole life and being ridiculed by his aunt and all that. And so we catch up with Wyatt, and he's trying to be successful, failing, not doing well with the business end of art.
And then he just ups and moves.
Well, he makes a Faustian deal with somebody later on. The man who shows up at his house to pick up the dog. Am I jumping?
I think so.
I am jumping, yeah.
I don't think we've gotten that part yet.
Yeah, we have.
Really?
What's his name? Shows up at his house to look for the dog. Keeps smoking cigars and.
Rectal Brown.
There we go.
Well, they haven't made the deal yet. I think Rectal Brown. He's trying to convince him. We know eventually he's going to convince him because it's what's on the back cover.
Yeah, and it's alluded to in the next like.
Currently, where we're at, he has not yet.
Yeah, I'm like 5 pages ahead of you, so I kind of know.
Yeah.
That they allude to some other stuff.
Yeah, so basically, Rectal Brown sees Wyatt's talent and is like trying to convince him to just copy all these famous paintings so he can sell them or create his own stuff. And Wyatt gets defensive about it. He's fighting him for a long time. And actually, that's a good segue in one of my favorite quotes.
Yeah, hold on. Is this the one you?
Yeah, that's the one.
Yeah, so we had parent-teacher conferences the other day, and my phone rings. Obviously, no one's coming into my room, so I literally just sat there for like 6 hours. That was the first day, right? And he just serenades me in this luscious voice as I'm looking around my room staring at my Bob Dylan poster. And he's reading me this quote, and I was like, dang, dude. I'm just going to start reading now. It was beautiful.
Yeah. Hopefully it's as beautiful this time.
I hope so. Don't mess this up.
So in this scene, Wyatt's Rectal's trying to convince him, or trying to figure out why he doesn't paint more, and Wyatt's a little defensive. And so here's Wyatt talking. He goes, about painting. That's what it has to be. That's all. And if everyone else's life, everyone else's work around you can be interchanged and nobody can stop and say, this is mine, this is what I must do, this is my work, then how can they see it in mine, the sense of inevitableness, that this is the way it must be? In the middle of all this, how can I feel that? Damn it, when you paint, you don't just paint. You don't just put lines down where you want to. You have to know. You have to know that every line you put down couldn't go any other place, couldn't be any different. But in the midst of all this rootlessness, how can you, damn it, do you talk to people? Do you listen to them? So basically, he's just kind of having, I wouldn't say a moment of crisis, but just his conviction that to paint original stuff, like, you have to be 100% convicted of what you're painting.
Yeah, I mean, that's why its big struggle is authenticity, you know? You have to recognize why you respond to a piece of art, is, you know, in this, I guess, painting and, you know, physically creating art, you know, why you're stuck looking at it and why it sticks with you long after you've left the museum or, you know, gallery or wherever. But yeah, I mean, that's why it's big struggle, is how to be authentic, right? Like, there was a book, a Goodreads review I saw talking about, like, hopefully we can talk about him later. You know, Bob Dylan is known for his confessional and poetic lyrics that I think, you know, are some of the greatest things ever written. But Bob Dylan is not a true figure. You know, it's a Minnesota boy, Robert Zimmerman. So who's more authentic, you know? Who's the real person there? Now, that's a whole other debate, and that I'd be willing to talk about with anybody if you emailed me at onceUponAtome@gmail.com. What's your favorite Bob Dylan album? Mine's Blood on the Tracks, as it should be. You don't like Bob Dylan, do you?
I love Bob Dylan.
Why do I think, like, you don't care that much about Bob Dylan? What's your favorite Bob Dylan song?
Probably Desolation Row.
Gosh. I'm so glad you brought that one up, because this is not from Desolation Row, but it is from Highway 61 Revisited, which is his other great album.
It's a great album.
So I was sitting in my room, I was reading, and then I just felt like listening to something that would kind of punch me right in my existential, you know, weight, right in the soul.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'll just play the Bob Dylan page. So I clicked it, started playing Tombstone Blues, and it's such a great, great song. I love it to death. And there's a specific, like, 2 verses or couplings or whatever that strike my fancy every single time I hear it. And it punched a chord with me today. Can I read it to you?
Well,
is that okay?
You can read it, yeah.
It's not a tome.
It's okay.
But he is a Nobel Prize winner in poetry.
Boom. Let's do it.
Now John the Baptist, he torturing a thief, says to the hero, the commander-in-chief, "Tell me, great hero, but please make it brief. Is there a hole for me to get sick in?" That one hits me deep, I think. Because it's the whole, like, you know, is there a hole for me to get sick in? That line, you know, it makes me, I'm pretty sure, you know, it was before Fixing a Hole by the Beatles, which is an allusion to, you know, like heroin and stuff like that. But so maybe there's no connection. But I'd like to think that there, you know, there's poetic license of saying, like, is there a hole for me to get sick in? You know, Commander-in-Chief's the person supposed to be helping us. And anyway, the Commander-in-Chief answers him while chasing a fly, saying, "Death to all those who hear whimper and cry." And dropping a barbell, he points to the sky, saying, "The sun's not yellow, it's chicken." When I was in high school, I don't think I really understood it.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I was not that bright. No, I was. I'm speaking negatively. But I just think that's such a witty little, you know, verse there.
Well, because it's
just beautiful.
It's initially
It's
it's
hilarious.
nonsensical, but when you really think about it, it's pretty deep.
Well, yeah,
I mean, the last line about the chicken.
yeah, yellow chicken. I mean,
Yeah.
that old phrase. But he also makes reference to like, I mean, there's like two different types of masculine characters in those lines. You know, the patriarchal, the hero, right? Essentially, kind of like, the government or, political figure, someone, and this, what appears to be a druggie or some sort of an artist type, a sentimental dirtbag, as I like to call myself, and it makes you realize that the person who's supposed to be the great hero, wink, wink, sarcasm, is just maybe a bully wanting to fight anything and anything that's out of his control. Same as the blacksmith, but I can talk about Dylan all day.
Yeah.
I just wanted to run that by you because I
love
was
Dylan.
like,
I mean,
God
obviously, you know far more about him than I do.
I do.
I think we established on our road trip that you know way more lyrics than I do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. I get hit. You ever heard a good lyric where it just tingles down your spine and your eyes just melt away and you just look at things just a bit differently than you did before?
Not really.
What?
But when I hear a good lyric, I'm like, that's really good.
I'm like, facts. Period, dude.
Yep. Or in
Word.
the verbiage of the Utes today, that's definitely not a sus lyric.
I don't think they say that.
Well,
I don't
they
think
say
say
sus.
that. Yeah, but like, that's highly sus of you to be using that to coin a phrase like that.
Hey, I'm an old man trying to be hip. Don't be hating on me.
Hey, you are old. I'm 27.
I mean, when I was 6, you may not have been born yet.
I was probably in the womb.
And,
I was,
your mom was probably in the delivery room. You were getting ready to come out.
yeah, maybe. Probably not. Ugh.
But back to Geddes.
Back to Geddes. No more about Dylan.
So, what strikes me about Wyatt is he almost has he has an obsession with painting, but he really won't let anybody see it. He just like stays in his studio all night long. He's married. His wife thinks he's gay. That's all he does.
Yeah. I mean, it's a very unhappy marriage. And I mean, there's allusions to them, some sort of affair between her and another character,
Yeah,
which was like
too.
I guess Wyatt is his mentor, or was some type
I'm
of
not
figure.
honestly sure about the connection between Otto and Wyatt. I don't think.
Well, in
it's
the
been
bit that I
established.
read a little bit more today, there's an
Yeah.
illusion of their relationship being mentor-esque.
Okay.
I don't know. It's interesting. It's heartbreaking,
Yeah.
because Esther's not doing anything wrong.
No.
I mean, it's just neglectful.
Well, I think it established early on it was just kind of marriage out of convenience, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then when we were reading it, I think about, there's a David Lynch quote. I mean, he's been married, remarried a couple times, and, he talks about, as an artist, you have to sacrifice some things. Most artists have to sacrifice, a normal family.
Yeah.
I mean, it's pretty freaking tragic, I think. I just think about that every time Esther and Wyatt have a scene together.
Yeah.
Because there's communication, and the dialogue is astounding. Yeah. It really makes me think about how I would write. I mean, it's 10 times better, I think, than Infinite Jest in terms of dialogue. Because everyone in Infinite Jest kind of sounds the same.
Yeah.
But each character has this distinct quality
Yeah.
where they're their own true characters and people, and they're always hinting at things, but they can never get around to what the real problem is.
Yeah.
And you have to, in the spaces in between the dialogue, Those lines, just like a beautiful Miles Davis song. It's the notes that aren't played. That's what matters. And I think that in the dialogue, he's forcing you to really dive deep into what they're really saying. So you and I probably have two different versions of what they're actually, talking about.
Yeah, I think that reminds me of, I forget if it was Jacob or Jeff at the conference who said it, but like one of the reasons that difficult literature is so rewarding is that you're not going to get it all the first time around, but each subsequent time you come back to it, you gain something new.
Yeah.
And I think that same thing with this. Like right now, I think we're both pretty open to the fact that we overall understand what's going on, but we probably both have two different interpretations of what's going on, and that's probably intended.
Oh, I very much think that. Yeah. But that's good art to me. Yeah. I don't want to be beat over the head with this is how you should feel. Yeah. I want to be let open to being trusted as an audience, that I'm going to find myself along the way. There's a lot of content out there. A lot of content. Not trying to be highbrow here, but there's a lot of content where scenes in a TV show or a movie are given to you. The information is just given to you. When I was in school, it was show, don't tell. Yeah. And that's pretty much all Gaddis is doing here, is just trying to show you in this form a different kind of art, medium. The world to me is so vivid and beautiful and dark. Like it just swirls through time. And there's so many things that I checked that website, which I guess the person who runs it doesn't want to have anything to do with it anymore.
Stephen Moore's website? Or no, he mentioned someone else.
He mentioned he knows the person who runs it.
Yeah.
And they don't want to do it anymore. And it's such a helpful little tool. Yeah. I think it's just williamgaddis.org. Yeah. It's very old looking. Hey, I think it's specifically meant to look like that, because I don't think I got the gist that no one wants the format to be updated. So it's stuck in like 1998. Like Y2K hadn't even happened yet. How old were you when Y2K happened? Do you remember that?
Yeah. I would have been 11.
I was 4. Yeah, my first memory was in 1999.
You ever seen the This Is Sports Center Y2K commercial?
No.
It's like Charlie Steiner's like running around with like one of the pirate kids and like Peter Pan. He's got like a shirt tied around his head and he's carrying like a torch.
Man. Yeah.
I'll send it to you.
Please do. Yeah. My first memory was seeing Phantom Menace in the movie theater. It was 1999. But I don't remember Y2K that much.
Yeah.
I think I was playing a video game with my dad. So I didn't really understand what was happening. Yeah. I didn't know what New Year's Eve was.
Playing it around midnight just to see if it would shut off at midnight.
No, like I learned about Y2K watching Family Guy when I was way later in life. I just didn't happen. Like no one told me about it. So in 1999, I was playing Indiana Jones on the N64 with my dad. Yeah. He was playing it. I was just watching. Yeah. Remember when we used to talk about books?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. Those are good old times.
But that kind of reminds me in a very weird way.
Mm-hmm.
But so remember, like yesterday, I came down and I was talking about how, like, I asked you, have you noticed that ever since you started reading the recognitions, like other prose just hasn't been as good? And
yep,
that was the case for me. Like, I'm currently reading Brideshead Revisited by Evelyn Waugh, which is one of the most highly regarded novels of all time, and I can't really get into it, and I can't figure out why. And it's like there's a couple other books too, and I don't know. The only thing I can think of is that since the recognitions is the prose is so dense that it's like when I'm reading something that's a little bit lighter, I go through it quicker and I almost lose a little bit of it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. I was rereading Frankenstein for like the third time. And before we started the recognitions, I was really, really into it. I was picking up on things I probably hadn't before. Pretty much looking at it in an environmentalist standpoint, and because I love that kind of stuff. Mm-hmm. No, I'm not an expert in it. But I mean, there's so many beautiful references to nature, and when the creature will appear in nature, and, And then once we started reading the recognitions, I kind of went on autopilot and I finished it, and it was wonderful. Yeah. 10 out of 10. Yeah. But when I would pick up Gaddis after reading Frankenstein, it was just a whole other beast.
A whole other level.
So, yeah, you're reading Wah right now?
Wah, yeah. I finished Siddhartha by Herman Hesse.
Is it Hesse or Hess?
Hesse. My bad, misspoke. That was good.
Yeah, it is. Pretty darn great.
Yeah, so I guess Hesse, he was a German writer, turn of the century. Kind of really into Eastern religions and just wrote a few novels about just influential figures. So this wasn't like, he wasn't really promoting anything. It's kind of imagine what Siddhartha's life was like. And so it kind of read like a, it kind of, it read like a children's story, but you could tell it was a more mature version. But sentences were more or less short, and it was just kind of like almost a little bit fable-y.
Yeah. Yeah. I read Siddhartha once in college when I was getting really into Buddhism. Yeah. And I read that, and then a buddy of mine, shout out Cooper Harrington. He doesn't know that this book or this podcast exists.
Are you still friends with him?
I haven't talked to him in a while. I really need to. I'm really bad with communication.
Just send him this podcast.
Out of the blue.
No text. Send him the podcast. Send a link to the podcast.
Anyway, he gave me a copy of Wake Up by Jack Kerouac. Mm-hmm. And it's his version of the Buddha's life. Okay. It's also wonderful. But, yeah, really great books. Anyway, you want to know what I'm reading?
Yeah, what are you currently reading?
Glad you asked. So, this is the one I really want to talk about.
Yes.
I have been searching for this specific book for a while now. It is called Hellfire by Nick Tosches. Have you heard of him?
No.
You know how I told you that the Bart Giamatti book kind of changes the way that I would read any other sports book?
Yeah.
This will change the way you read any biography ever.
Okay.
His writing and prose, what have you, is brutal. Yeah. So Hellfire is the Jerry Lee Lewis story. I'm reading it because Jerry Lee Lewis just died. He is a terrible, terrible story. I think personally, but it's super interesting. I will say that it's just dark, and he really gets down to the seediness of it. Yeah. Tosh's other books are The Devil and Sonny Liston, Country, Dino, about Dean Martin, who I really like. Let me read you something real quick. Yeah. This is just like
read an excerpt.
Well, I'll read you a few.
Okay.
I'll read you two. This is just the opening. It's a picture of Jerry Lee Lewis with his, piano. It opens up with a quote by Jonathan Edwards, "Sinners in the hands of an angry God." Yeah. You know where I'm going with this?
Oh, yeah.
There is laid in the very nature of carnal men a foundation for the torments of hell. There are those corrupt principles in reigning power in them and in full possession of them that are seeds of hellfire. And then it goes, in quote, "I'm dragging the audience to hell with me, Jerry Lee Lewis." And the next picture is him slumped, either drunk or high or both. Wow. And then the opening is him driving recklessly up to Graceland. And the way that he talks about Presley, there's no messianic way to talk about him. And he really drives that home about, like, he's just a man like Jerry Lee Lewis. And Jerry Lee Lewis hates the fact that he's so revered. I mean, it's just like Cain Abel type stuff, And
is it written in a sense almost like...
It is not written as a biography
but,
at
I mean,
all.
Where I'm getting at, is it almost written like In Cold Blood, where In Cold Blood it's completely nonfiction, but it reads like fiction.
Yes.
I mean, there's
so many liberties, I bet. But, oh my Lord.
Yeah.
I mean, he talks about the first information about Elvis is a dream that he has. And there's no evidence that he ever had a dream, but it's just wonderful stuff. I'm going to dumb this down. I'm going to pull my best friend who doesn't cuss or drink, because this is a beautiful topic, or a beautiful paragraph here. Elvis mother frickin' Presley. That is frickin'. Okay? His heart hastened, setting up there in that GD mansion pretending he's God, and all he is some fat old dope addict who dyes his hair like a GD woman. As the words of Job admonished, they spend their days in wealth and in a moment go down to the grave. To the grave, to the grave, to the grave. He almost laughed, but instead spat in disgust and then commenced howling anew. He did not relent, and the guard went to the phone.
Great balls of fire.
Oh, darn right. Great balls of fire indeed.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't really know much about Jerry Lee Lewis. I mean, I still don't really know, but when I found out that he was married 5 times, and one of those times was his, 13-year-old cousin when he was, at the time, already married to somebody else.
Oh, yeah. I mean, after that, so that's just the intro, but it goes, way back into his great-grandfather and his whole family tree. Yeah. He wasn't, an outlier.
Really?
Yeah. And it reads it reads like Faulkner.
Okay.
Once I'm done with this, you need to read it. You have to give it back, because I found this randomly at Half Price Books.
Oh, really?
I was looking for a year and a half for this book, because my boy, Clifford Lee Sargent, who I don't know, never met, think we'd have a nice, good old chat and a cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Talked about this book.
Okay.
I was like, holy smokes.
Yeah. Did you look on Amazon?
No, I'm not going to look on Amazon. That was a last resort.
I mean, you said you're looking for it for a year and a half. I feel like after a few months,
It's the thrill of book shopping. It's like, I'm not going to buy a record from Bond villain Mr. Bezos.
That's true.
I want to be able to find an original pressing of this weird, obscure, record. It's the same way with books. We bought the recognitions from Mr. Bezos.
We did.
But we really needed it quick so we can not walk into the Gaddis conference like a bunch of idiots.
It was half off.
It was shop at your local bookstore.
Yes.
Please.
Yeah.
Wherever the closest one. Go there right now.
Yes.
And if you're willing, email us at onceuponatome@gmail.com and tell us in your hometown what is the best bookstore. So when we go on our next road trip, we will go to that bookstore.
Boom.
And Brett will buy himself a bookmark.
Yes. Well, they usually give them away for free. But, I always buy books.
He will find a bookmark.
Yes.
And he will buy a stack of books.
Boom. Yeah, over the summer, I'd say we averaged, 10 books? 10 book haul per trip?
Yeah. What was the best haul? It wasn't Springfield. I think it was Peoria, wasn't it? We came home with 11 books one day.
Yeah.
I did, at least. That was Peoria, because we we also, after the game, didn't we go to a Chicago Cubs bar?
Yeah, we went to a Cubs bar.
We watched the Boston Yankees game, one of their rivalry games. It was the very few, or the very minimum, or the only game the freaking Red Sox probably beat the Yankees, and it was like a comeback win.
Yeah, it was like a walk-off, wasn't it?
Oh, it was
there
so
were some
amazing.
like fake
Fake Yankee
in the
fan,
bar, like,
but
they're
he was
getting
only a
all,
fan because he bet money on him.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, this is a 4-game set. Like, what are you doing trying to say that they're gonna sweep
If I remember
4
right, though,
games? Like, you dingus. I hate sports betting. Sports betting ruins sports. Ask Pete Rose.
those wings are pretty good though. Or chicken strips, whatever they were.
God bless it. I'd go back for those
Let's go
boneless
back.
wings.
3-hour drive. Just to,
Peoria got stomped that game too.
Yeah.
Over the summer we went to we tried to do the minor league circuit.
Yeah.
We couldn't make it to Memphis,
Yeah.
but
We
it was a fun
we
time.
planned it twice, but it didn't work out.
Brett twice
Yeah.
was asked to do a game between innings.
Well,
they tried to get me.
actually-
Did you try to get both of us to? And I was like,
Yeah.
heck no.
Yeah. So the first run in Springfield, it was like a golf like chipping challenge thing, and
Oh yeah, you suck.
I suck. I mean, I suck at golf to begin with.
Yeah.
And I think when people hear I suck, they just think like, oh, I probably like pull a ball here and there, like can't hit it very far. But when I say I suck, like literally, the last time I went to the driving range, I struggled to make contact with the ball, and when I did, it went literally directly right.
Yeah, it was pretty bad. She felt so sorry for you.
Yeah. Well, I didn't realize it was like a foam ball. So like my first like
Was it
shot
really?
was like overshot it by like 50 yards. And then
Gosh darn.
in Peoria,
Oh, you got beat eating freaking
snow cone.
snow cones
Yeah, I
by
gotta-
a 10-year-old.
No, it was a full-grown man.
It wasn't a full-grown
Yeah,
man.
it
This was
was.
a kid.
I was standing right across from him.
No, it was a kid.
No.
I remember because I texted you on your way back saying you lost to a child. You should have made him trip over.
Well, you know what? I gave it my best shot. I had a solid brain freeze for about a minute, and then what was actually funny afterwards? You know what he got for winning? Just like a voucher for a free snow cone.
Snow cones suck. You're
Yeah.
literally just eating syrup and ice.
I know.
Oh man.
Definitely not too great for your health.
Did you know I don't get brain freezes? Did I tell you this?
Like ever?
No.
They can buy like straightened ice cream and
I can smash some ice cream. It impresses Emma. Like,
really.
yeah, I mean, I just forfeit down. I think it's because of how many concussions I may have had. Yeah, there's no scientific evidence that there's any correlation between the two. But I like thinking I damaged my head so
So are
much.
you saying there's a benefit to being concussed so many times?
So if you ever go to a country fair and they have themselves a custard eating contest, sign me up because I will
Wait.
so win.
I thought you didn't like being in front of people though.
Yeah,
How
no,
would you
I
do-
would. I would still turn that down because my anxiety would just be
Yeah.
through the roof.
Yeah.
I would still win though.
What if they're able to like put like a shade in front of you so like that people couldn't see you,
I do like being.
but they knew you
anonymous.
were there.
I'd be like Madam Psychosis. You like
But
that?
it would bring
Boom.
it back to Infinite Jest.
Oy vey.
Yeah,
Did we really talk about books today?
talked a little bit. That's it by halftime.
I'm glad.
But we're gonna talk about next couple shows.
Oh, I'm so excited for this one.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Dude, you should tell it.
So yeah, we're gonna do probably a top 10 list, top 10 books we've each read, and we're not sure if we're gonna do if we're gonna split it between episodes or not. Maybe next time just do.
Yeah, I'd say we should do like 10 through 6, just because
Yeah.
I want to respectfully give each title
Yeah.
its due.
Yeah.
I mean, it could be either writers or books.
Mhm.
Let us know.
Yeah. Send us an email at onceUponAtome@gmail.com, and be sure when you're typing that you don't let Google autocorrect it to Once Upon a Time.
Yeah, not that lame ABC show that ran through 2010 and 2000, what have you.
Yeah.
I don't know anything about that show.
But yeah, send us an email. Let us know your list or your thoughts about literature or anything you want us to talk about.
Yeah, and give us some recommendations. a tome that you feel like we must read next, and we will
Yes.
consider it when we do our drawing.
Yes. Which is going to be about a year.
Yeah. Or if you think you can gauge, mine and Brett's taste, give us just a book,
Yeah.
any other book,
Yeah.
that you think that we would like. And I will preface, let me state this, just so it's in the air. We are not saying that a book that is less than 500 pages isn't real, or that it's not considered. It's just the fact that it's tome reviews.
Yes.
That's it. I'm not saying that
Oh, yeah. Some of my favorite, a lot of my favorite books are not 500 pages.
Oh, absolutely not.
Yeah.
Most of you will probably see in my top 10. I
Yeah,
think
I mean,
there's
same
probably
here.
only one book so far that is bigger than
Yeah.
500.
Yeah.
So, anyway, how you
Yeah.
feeling?
I would say, too, what was I going to say? Shit, you know what? I just forgot. I'm old.
So you're getting old, man. We wonder what it's going to be like by the time you're
Yeah.
41
Oh.
and I have kids.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, you remember? And you forgot it again.
I thought I did. What was I going to say?
Jeez Louise.
I know, man.
So much dead air. I'm just trying to fill the space.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, it'll come back to me.
Anyway.
But yeah.
let me,
So,
yeah,
go ahead.
you go ahead.
I was gonna say,
It's like, yeah, you good. I'm literally just trying to get you to forget again.
okay. Well, I haven't remembered yet, so you can't forget something if you don't remember it first. But no, so oh yeah, I know what I was gonna say for real.
Okay.
So I know if you're out there, you're probably thinking, wait, you guys read a tome every 2 weeks? And that'd be the answer to that would be no. So it took us about 6 months, including the summer, to get through Infinite
Don't tell
Jest.
them that. You're gonna think we're a bunch of noobs.
Yeah. And we're expecting to finish the recognitions probably February or so. So in between, we're gonna
Heck
record
yeah.
probably weekly. We're gonna attempt to record weekly podcasts, just like this one today, just giving updates on where we're at, just talking literature, talking themes, or maybe throw in some movies, some music references.
Oh yeah.
So just we're gonna have these what we call footnotes podcasts. In between our actual tome podcasts.
I hope y'all get it. You should get it.
Yeah, like footnotes, like
Infinite Jest,
like
tiny little details. Some of them are bigger than others.
because they're at the foot of the page.
Oh,
Whoa!
look at that.
But yeah, so we are an official podcast. We are on Apple Podcasts. We're on Google Podcasts. We're on Spotify. So look for us anywhere you listen to podcasts, and be sure to hit subscribe so you automatically get our latest podcast. If you're watching on YouTube or listening, be sure to hit that bell.
Yeah, give us a like.
Yeah.
Helps the algorithm.
Maybe put a little comment in the comment section.
Yeah. And
Positive one.
find yourself a good booktube channel.
Yes.
I got some ones I could recommend to you.
Such as?
Better than food book reviews.
Yep.
Leaf by Leaf. There's a few other ones I'm not remembering right now. The Book Chemist is pretty good. Anyway, let me also preface this. I can go on a tangent, and I'm very self-critical. So sometimes I ramble on. It's purely because I get anxious. So not to keep it, or not to make any political diatribe or what have you. Try and keep it civil. Be cool. But November 8th, go out and vote. Do yourself the favor, because this is some the most important elections in your community and in your day-to-day life. Whatever you believe in, stand by it. Go out and vote. Yeah. I feel good about that.
I hardly agree. Yeah, I don't feel like you can talk politics or have an opinion about it, or a valid one, if you don't vote. Like, it's okay to disagree, but you have to vote and have a piece of the pie. That's my feeling.
Yeah, things are weird, and we need to remember that we do, as of this point,
You know what?
have a voice,
We do.
and we have to, honor that. Do
Yeah.
yourself that favor. You'll feel better.
And you know what, Bo? Let's end with this. Don't be afraid of people who are have different views about things than you do.
Yep.
Engage with them. Now, if it's not civil, it's not your fault. It's on the other person. But
freedom of speech is not freedom of reach. Always remember that.
Yeah.
I like to say
but
that.
as much as you can, engage with people. Talk about the ideas. Don't attack the other person.
Just like many of our conversations.
In our conversations.
Like Henry Fonda and James Stewart. I feel good. You feel good?
I feel good.
All right.
To name this movie before we leave. I feel good. I feel great. I feel wonderful. I feel good. I feel great. I feel wonderful.
I don't know that one.
That's the opening scene to What About Bob?
I do like me some Bill Murray.
Have you seen that?
It's been ages.
Yeah.
I think I only saw it once.
Basically, Bill Murray plays this this kind of hypochondriac, psychotic guy.
So
who just doesn't leave his apartment.
Just playing himself.
Yeah, and the opening scene is him like sitting in bed, just like rubbing his face. I feel good. I feel great. I feel wonderful. Trying to psych himself out to leave his apartment in New York City. But
yeah, I think Richard Dreyfuss and him hated each other.
Actually,
I'm pretty sure like they've refused to film their scenes together, so there's just a bunch of bodies like stand-ins.
Okay,
Bill
that
Murray.
does make sense. But,
Bill Murray.
Yeah.
What a guy.
What a guy. Yeah, one of these days we have to go to Charleston River Dogs opening day because he owns them and he's been known to show up in random bars in Charleston.
He's known for many things.
Yeah.
He's one of those people I'd like to meet. Maybe.
Yeah. But. All right. Well, I think that about wraps it up. Episode 2 in the books.
I feel vindicated.
Yeah. Once you start a podcast, the next step is getting a second episode.
Yep.
We can check it off. And every episode gets a little better. So be patient with us. And
yeah, Brett's going on a little road trip, so we're going to get a new episode in hopefully
probably 2 weeks.
2 weeks? Yeah.
Maybe next week. Yeah, we'll see.
I'm going to push for next week. That's for
we'll
sure.
do next week.
All right.
All right. We'll see you then, guys. Peace out.
Bye.